I remember after I had my first viral video, I didn't want to make any videos.
Really? Why?
Because you're scared of success. Like you're scared of.
But weren't you excited? You're like, oh, 50 million views. Like all these people.
You get, well, that's the point, right? Like at one point, it has to become about more than the success or failure. And that's where the meaningful mission, it comes back to that, right?
Yeah.
It always comes back to that. And I was talking about this with our friend, and we talked about you too. It's so funny. I was talking to Stephen Bartlett recently because I was in London, and we talked about you too because we were talking about relationships. And he was saying what he'd learned from you and the conversations you guys have had. And now I'm talking about him to you. But I was talking to him about the idea of just like getting comfortable with the idea that at one point we all have to embrace insignificance and irrelevance in a public sense, but that in an internal sense, the meaningful mission was what was carrying you.
Yes.
So if you stop because people stop following, or if you start only when people are following, then there isn't a meaningful mission. Because the meaningful mission is what you were doing, whether people were following or not, because it's what you wanted to do and who you wanted to be. And so I think it comes back to that if you only play when you're winning and you stop when you're losing, or you don't pivot and learn a new way to serve, then there isn't a meaningful mission at the bedrock of it. And so I love that the meaningful mission is at the heart of everything, because there will always be changes. Like the platforms will change, the algorithms will change.
People will come and go.
People will come and go. And you see the people that have lasted the test of time. It's usually people who have a meaningful mission, as you were saying, who want to keep serving, keep giving. They feel they have that.
Yeah, and they're not worried about how famous or relevant they are.
Correct.
You know, and I think I loved your conversation with Kevin Hart about how like fame is like this ultimate drug. And if it's not used wisely or managed properly, it will ruin you.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, the idea of being relevant or having followers or views or something like that, if it's not managed properly, it'll probably stress you out and overwhelm you and make you go a little crazy, unless there's some foundation of, hey, yes, I want to impact more people, and yes, I want this to do well, but the mission is to serve. And I remember when I wrote my last book specifically about masculine vulnerability, I remember thinking to myself, this may not do that well.
No one's gonna, it's hard.
At that time in 2018 or 2017, whenever that was, I was like, I don't know if men are ready to start talking about being vulnerable. It was kind of just like barely happening, right?
It was
and
early
now,
days. It was early
now
days.
Everyone is talking about that. Not everyone, but you see that a lot.
Yeah.
But I remember being like, I really don't care if this sells 1 million copies or one. If it sells one and that man is impacted and he has a deeper relationship with himself where he heals, he has a deeper relationship with his wife or his partner and his family, he heals and mends some relationships, and he finds more happiness, health, and he heals, then I was like, it's worth it. It's worth the 2 years of research. It's worth all the pain that I went through. It's worth the fear of opening up about sexual abuse that I was afraid of years before that, because I want another guy to feel the same way.
Yeah.
And so I think when we go into it with, yes, we want things to do well. When we put effort and energy into launching a project, a business, a company, a book, a podcast, of course you want things to go well. But if you have the meaningful mission as the bedrock, where you're just like, it's about it's about us, it's about service. It's not about me getting more famous or building something of more followers. That's when I think it's more sustainable energetically.
Yeah. When people are sitting with that, and we kind of skipped over it, but we used it and moved forward. Like, I think when I use the word purpose, or when you're using the word meaningful mission, it's like, it can feel quite heavy for certain people, because they're like, I don't care about it. Like, there's nothing that I even care about that much. Yes. Like, I don't know, or I wish I cared about humanity or animals or whatever it may be that you care about.
You got to know your season. When I was broke on my sister's couch, I couldn't think beyond getting off the couch. So I was like, my meaningful mission is to make enough money to live on my own.
Yeah. I remember that. Yeah. Paying rent and paying groceries was where I started.
If that's your season of life, you got to focus on that. And you got to focus on getting to a baseline where you can start thinking beyond yourself.
but you're doing that with the hidden feeling of
100%.
like, I want to do service,
100%.
but right now I just need to focus on this. It's kind of like, I love that you said that, because that's what I found too. It's like, I never stopped wanting to do service. There were just moments in trying to do service where the immediate need was,
Right.
it's kind of like saying you have an apartment, there's a fire in the apartment, but you're trying to do your interior design, right? Like, or you want to have your friends over.
Right.
You're like, no, but my apartment's to have my
Yeah,
friends
yeah.
over. And it's like, no.
It's burning.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
burning. Like I want to serve with my house. I
I
want to have
know.
my friends over. And it's like, no. Just
No.
solve the
Yeah,
fire.
yeah.
And then use it for that, right?
Yeah, and I think it's understanding where you're at. And that's why I said, like, listen, you've got to have a season of overcoming your fears as well. Like for a few years, I was just like, I'm so crippled by insecurity and fear that all my energy is going towards public speaking class. I'm doing salsa lessons because this was a fear of mine, and I wanted.
Oh,
to,
you're such a good dancer, man.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
But
I've
I was
seen
like,
videos,
there's so many, and I was in research mode. I know you love to read and research and teach. I was in just research mode for hours every day. I was researching. I was learning online. I was building relationships, and I was overcoming fears. That was the season while I was on my sister's couch for a year and a half, trying to figure out, who am I in this world? What is the point of all this? What is my identity now that I've lost my dream and my athletic dreams? What am I going to do the rest of my life? I was in a season of researching, of building relationships, and overcoming fears. But I was being in service to the people I was working with. I was bringing curiosity. I was bringing joy. I was bringing moments of fun. And that's just as much service as it is feeding the homeless or changing the world or curing cancer.
That's a great answer. Yeah.
Greatness is not about changing the world. It's about changing the world around you and changing the world within you, and being in that evolution of growth and transformation and saying, how can I continue to level up myself and the people around me? That might be 3 people.
Yeah.
But if you're doing that, it's making a ripple on so many more.